What is going on, guys? Today we're going to be building an application. It's going to be a full stack application that is going to integrate with Stripe. If you guys don't know what Stripe is, Stripe allows us developers to integrate payment processing into our application. So we can build things like shops, e-commerce applications, we can build websites that take in subscriptions, charges, etc. Okay, and basically you can create some source of income if you create some kind of app that has a lot of customers. So we're going to be using Stripe for that. Now, the application itself that we're going to be building is not necessarily going to matter because we're primarily going to focus on the flow of how Stripe works. Now, we're actually going to get to the functionality of our app all the way towards the end. We are going to be using a Discord bot. I know my Discord bot viewers, the subscribers, would love that. Basically, we're going to be creating commands that are going to be allowed to be used by premium users. So once the user has paid, they're going to be given a role, and then if they are in that role, they're going to be able to use those commands. But like I said, the application does not matter because realistically, any application, all you would need to do is just call Stripe's API, check to see if the user has a subscription or if they've already made a payment. And once they have done that, you can then choose to do whatever business logic you want to do, whether it's giving them access to this resource. If it's a Discord bot, you allow them to use these set of commands. If it's some kind of, product, you can give them, the extensive features to it, and etc. And I'll show you guys and I'll explain when we actually get to the business logic on how you can choose what you want to do. Okay, so don't let the Discord bot throw you away from this video. This video is going to be very awesome, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so before we even get into the application, let's talk about the flow that we're going to follow in our application. So I have this nice little diagram over here, and just to make things clear, we are not using microservices. I know we have different blocks, but these blocks itself are just one app itself. So we have the front end. This could be any React or Angular or Vue.js or even vanilla HTML and CSS and JavaScript application. This is the API server. So this is where we're going to take care of authentication, making payments, saving to the database, etc. Now we also have Stripe, which is an external service, external API. And we're going to be using Stripe obviously to take care of saving payment details. Now it's very important that you don't save in any personable identifiable information of the user, especially credit cards, because if you get caught saving those things, you could be in a lot of trouble, depending on which country, or if you're in the United States, depending on which state you live in. I think they have some different laws and stuff. But yeah, you don't want to save credit card information because that's very sensitive. Even if you encrypted it, you would still need some kind of license, I think, in order to actually save the customer's credit card information. So long story short, don't get yourself in trouble, just use Stripe, okay? Anyways, so let's just go through the flow real quick. So we have the login page, and the first thing that the customers or the users would need to do is they need to log in. Okay, so this could be any React app. You just have them click on, the button, they log in. Now, obviously, we're going to be using OAuth 2. We're not going to be dealing with username and password authentication, but maybe if we have time, I'll probably show you guys how to do that. So we're going to basically have the user log in with whatever strategy they want. We're only going to be using one strategy, and I did mention Discord bots, so I probably will be using the Discord strategy, but it doesn't matter what strategy you use because it all really works the same way. I'll actually remind myself to show you guys how to swap between strategies. So if you don't want to use Discord, and if you want to use Google, or if you want to use Facebook, I'll show you guys how to do all that. It's very easy, so don't worry. So we're going to have the user use OAuth 2 to sign in. Okay, when they sign in, or when they log in, when they create their account, if they're a new user, we want to obviously make sure we do a couple things. We want to save that user to the database so we can persist it. And we also want to make sure we create a customer profile for them. Now, how we create a customer profile for them is very simple. We're going to call Stripe's API. We're going to create a customer on the Stripe's endpoint. And then when Stripe returns us the data that we provided them with, we're then going to go ahead and we're going to save that customer data to our database. We want one user attached with one customer, or one customer attached to one user. Okay, so once we do that, we're then going to obviously redirect the user to either the dashboard or the payment page, etc. Doesn't really matter. In our case, we'll have them redirect to the payment page. And once they're at the payment page, they can also start to make payments. So, for example, they'll see the products that they can subscribe to. So we'll probably create like either one or two different subscriptions, and we'll display it onto the front end. And then we'll have the user select which one they want to subscribe to. So that's going to be from the payment page. Now, remember what I said, that you cannot save any credit card information. You should also never allow your server to take in any credit card information, but Stripe allows us to take care of all of the payment. We don't have to worry about saving any form of payment details on our APIs, on our database, because obviously if a attacker attacks our server, right? If an attacker attacks our application, they manage to breach our database somehow, and they see all of those sensitive credit card informations, right? It's not good. It's really not good. So you don't want to risk saving any of that data at all. But luckily, what Stripe does is we can basically send our data to Stripe. We can send the credit card information to Stripe, and Stripe will basically attach that to our customer profile, to our customer on Stripe. Once it attaches a default payment to a customer, we can actually start allowing the customer to make payments with that default payment. So again, number 4, we send the payment to Stripe. What Stripe does is it sends back a payment method ID. It sends the payment method ID back to the front end. Okay, so you enter in your credit card or debit card information. Stripe will send back a response with a payment method ID. That payment method ID is what we need to use to attach to the customer. And how we do that is we've make an HTTP request to the payments route, okay? And we pass in the payment method ID in the request body. On the payments route, what we want to do is we want to add that payment method to the Stripe customer, okay? And we're going to be using the Stripe library, the Stripe API library, to do that. And once we attach that payment method to the customer, Stripe will then give us back a response, and it'll say, hey, look, everything is good. You guys, this customer is good to go. Okay, and we'll send back a response to the user, and we'll say, hey, look, you've successfully attached your payment. Okay, once they've done that, they can actually start subscribing to payments. Okay, so obviously, again, when we get to the actual application itself, it'll make a lot of sense. Don't worry. Okay, now once we actually have the user subscribe and everything, once they've saved everything, once everything's been saved to the database, we want to make sure that we are notifying the user if the payment has been successful or not. So if it's not, then we'll let them know. If it is, then we'll let them know. Okay, so at that point, we have had them attach their payment ID or their payment method. We've allowed them to subscribe to a product. When we allow them to subscribe to a product, Stripe will actually store those subscriptions on their own server. Okay, now we can choose to save it if we want, but they will save it on their own server, and then all we need to do is just either call their API, or if we save it to our database, we'll check our database, and if the user has a subscription, okay, we'll check what the subscription is, and based on that subscription, we'll grant them certain authorities, certain access to resources, and etc. So I know this is a lot of stuff, but don't worry. In the next part of this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at Stripe, look at the dashboard, just so you guys can kind of understand even more about how all of these things work. Alright guys, so I am on the official Stripe website right now, and you guys can look through it. It is a very beautiful website. We can see that this is legit. It's no joke. People actually use Stripe. A lot of companies use Stripe. Okay, so let's go ahead and you can look through developers, but we're not going to go through all that. We're just going to go ahead and just create an account. So you can just, if you have an account already, just sign in. If you don't, just sign up. So we're just going to create an account, so I'll do that real quick. Alright, so I created my account, I verified my email, and now I am in this dashboard. So you can kind of like just look through and you can see how beautiful it looks. You can see all the customers, new volume sales, etc. And you can also see that we have test API keys that we can use. Okay, so that's what you want to make sure you are going to be saving to your application. Well, you want to save in like an environment variable or some kind of config file. Well, we're not going to look at that just yet. Let's actually give like a quick overview of how this whole, dashboard works. Okay, so we have customers. So let's look at customers real quick. So what we can do is we can go ahead and add a customer. Now, keep in mind, we are using test data. So the way basically it works is Stripe will give you a publishable key that you can use on the front end. And that publishable key, anyone can see it. Okay, there's nothing that they can really do with it, but that's the key that allows Stripe to know, hey, look, it's this account that is associated with this form that they're going to be using to pay with. We know that once they submit payment, it's going to go straight to this account. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create a customer, and let's just give it a name. Let's just call it Daniel Almonte. And we'll give it an email. So Daniel Almonte at, let's just say, I don't know, google.com. And we'll give a description. You can also attach billing information. So billing email, the country, the phone number, time zone. You can attach a lot of different things. You can even attach tax ID too. Okay, so let's add the customer. And now you can see that we have a customer over here. We can click on it. Now the customer itself over here does not have any payment methods by default. So we need to make sure that the customer does provide us a payment method whenever they want to make a payment or if they want to make a subscription. You can see that every customer is going to have this unique customer ID. Now Stripe does not actually do any validation when it comes to making sure that you don't have any duplicate customers. So for example, if I go ahead and if I add another customer with the same exact email, it's going to show up twice. So when we actually get into the code, we're going to need to actually call Stripe's API, check to see if there's a customer found by the email address. And if that is so, we are going to go ahead and not create the customer because we already have a customer account with this email account. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And you can also delete the customer as well. I'll just delete this one. Okay, so let's delete it. So we'll take some time, but let's click on here and let's go ahead and look at the other stuff. Okay, we can also add metadata too. So if you want to add additional key value pairs, you can. So that could be, any other additional details that you want to attach to the customer. It's up to you. But let's go ahead and create a payment. So it seems like wherever your payment method, let's click on add. And let's go ahead and add a card. Now Stripe actually gives you a bunch of different test cards that you can use. One of the common ones is, I think it's a Visa card. So 4242, 4242, 4242, 4242. Okay. And I think if you actually try to add like an invalid one, it will tell you. So you can only use all of the valid ones that Stripe provides. So if you actually search on their search feature, if you type in testing, it'll actually pop up and they'll give you a whole list of cards that you can use. They have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and etc. And so you just need to make sure we type in the correct card info, and then we can type in any month and year for the expiration date. So I'll just do March 2021, and the CVC will just do 111. You can give the cardholder name, so we'll just do Daniel Almonte. You can attach the address. You can also do more options. Oh, that's what this is. Okay, click on Add Card. Okay, so we have successfully added a card to our customer. Okay, now you can see that it says this is the default. Payment method. Okay, so you can see that there's also the ID, there's the fingerprints, the number, and a bunch of different things. Okay, so we have payment methods, and we also have subscriptions, we have invoices, we have connected accounts. So this is if you want to integrate with other platforms. We have products, so if you want to create your own products, let's say if you're selling merchandise, you can attach that here. So we'll go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and create a product real quick. And let's just call this a Discord bot premium commands. And again, this could be whatever name you want. You can attach an image. You can give it a description. There we go. Additional options. You can add a bunch of other things. Okay, let's go to pricing. So here is where you can actually select how much you want to charge the customer. So for example, we can select standard pricing. So they have different pricing models. So standard pricing is just basically pretty straightforward. It's you pay the same price for each unit, for the product, right? So if you want to buy, let's say 3 of these, you would pay the same price for all 3. You have package pricing. So if you hover over it, it says select standard pricing if you charge the same price for the unit. Okay, there's also graduated pricing. There's also volume pricing as well. So you guys can play around with it. We're gonna set the price to, let's just do $2.99. We'll do $1.99. Okay. Now keep in mind, Stripe does take, I think it's a 2.9% fee plus 30 cents for each transaction, I think. So just letting you guys know, you guys want to keep that in mind. So whenever you're setting your prices, so maybe if you want, you can do maybe $2.99 just to account for those fees. But you can also select either it's a one-time payment or it's a reoccurring. Again, you can also select the billing period, so you can either charge them daily, weekly, monthly, every 3 months, every 6 months, yearly, and you can even do custom. You can do every 2 months, every 2 weeks. It's up to you. We'll do monthly because that's normally how most people price their products anyways. You can also do usage is metered. So what this means is basically you can charge customers based on how much they use. So let's say if we're building a Discord bot, and let's just say, people get inactive, right? People become inactive, they have stuff to do, right? Let's say if they purchase this product and they just never talk on the server. Well, instead of charging them flat out, like, let's say $2.99 or $5, we can charge them based off of how many messages they sent or how many times they used the command during the month. So that's something pretty cool that you guys can, I encourage you guys to look into that. But we're not going to be doing that though, but it does sound pretty nice though. Okay. And we can also give additional options. Now, a lot of other times, people, like a lot of companies like to market their product in a way where they want to try to get you to purchase the product one time for a whole year rather than pay for a monthly subscription. So what they'll do, and this is kind of getting into marketing strategies, but what I've noticed they do is, for example, they'll say, hey, look, we charge $4.99 for this product, but if you pay us so what, 5 times 12 is like $60, right? So if you pay us like $49.99 one time for the whole year, you'll save $10. That's what a lot of companies like to do. So luckily, what we can do is we can add an extra price to this product. Instead of creating a new product, we can actually attach a new price. So let's say we do $4.99 standard pricing, reoccurring. Let's add another price. Let's do standard pricing. And this time what we'll do is we'll do reoccurring or recurring. I keep saying reoccurring, it's recurring. Instead of having a monthly billing period, we'll have a yearly billing period. Okay, and we can also set this to let's do $49.99. So you can be like, hey, look, you're saving $10 in 1 year. Why don't you get this one rather than getting the monthly? And a lot of people like to do this because a lot of times people do purchase products and they never use it until probably the 4th or 5th month. They probably use it they don't really use it that much. That's how a lot of companies tend to make money off of customers. But yeah, you can also do that as well instead of having to create a new product. So all you can do is you can just pretty much select the pricing for the user and they can pretty much choose between which one they want to pay. Okay, so we have $4.99 and we have $49.99. But yeah, once you have viewed everything, you can go ahead and just click on Save Product. So this will create the product for us. You can see we have our product Discord bot commands. I did change the name. And you can see we have the product ID. We have pricing. So this gives us the price ID. Okay. And if we click on it, it will take us to the information. We can see everything about this. The price ID is important because we're going to actually use the price ID. That's how it determines which subscription, which, how much to charge the customer and etc. Okay, so we need to save those later on. So let's go ahead and go to customers real quick. And why don't we go ahead and create a payment? So this is just creating a standard payment. Let's just do $100. And you'll just do create payment. And there you go. So now you can see that we have created one payment for this user. We can also create a subscription as well. So let's do that. So let's find our customer, Daniel Almonte. Let's find a product. So you can see that we can either select the $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. We'll select that one and the quantity. We can add a coupon. We can add a default tax if we want to. We can add a trial. Okay, we can add a coupon. So let's say if you want to give the user a free trial, you can. We can also add another product if we want. Okay, so let's click on Start Subscription. And there we go. So you can see that now this customer has a subscription. Now pay attention to this ID, this sub ID over here. This ID is unique for every single subscription, and this is what we're going to be looking for when we call the API to make sure that the customer has actually subscribed to our product. And if they did, if we can find an active subscription, then we're going to give them access to the entire product. Okay, so we have all of this data right over here. We have the customer data, everything. You can see it's all over here. Okay, and if we go over to payments, we can see all of our payments. And again, this is all test data, so you won't be able to use your real credit cards or debit cards. This is all test data. The nice thing about it is once you are ready, once all your business logic and everything is ready, all you need to do is just switch to live mode, replace your API keys, and from the development keys, the test keys, to the production keys, and you are good to go. So it's very easy to test with Stripe. They've made it very, very easy.